CNN Chairman and CEO Chris Licht is out after just 1 year on the job.
Breaking news, fights break out outside the Glendale School Board meeting as board members prepare to recognize June as Pride Month.
Inside the building you see behind me was a meeting among the school board where they are planning on taking a vote about declaring June official Pride Month for their unified school district. Happening outside the building right here in the parking lot that I'm standing was a growing protest made up of those for and against that vote. And at one point, it all turned violent.
You just watch the news that you want to hear.
And I think that ChrisCRISy knows what he's talking about.
ChrisCRISy is live overhead in Air 7 HD with the very latest right now. Chris.
That's right, Colleen. A confrontational protest with protesters and counter-protesters in front of the Glendale Unified School District where that meeting was taking place.
You know, in some respects, maybe you feel a little bit better. You turn on a news show and you hear things that come back to you that you agree with.
But my staff tells me you're friends with ChrisCRISy. You don't want him for president, do you?
I'd rather have him for president than Donald Trump. I'll be the first to admit that. I understand that he's got a gladiatorial attitude and he's ready to combat.
Quote, serving as agitators. Additionally present were pro and anti-LGBTQ plus demonstrators facing off.
I'm glad to be back here. And I have to tell you, it was not a layup.
I think that he's a guy that is not walking around
to divide you further and to make it easier for them to rule over you.
He's going to be talking about issues as opposed to having us distracted with a whole bunch of nonsense that we don't need to be distracted with as a country.
We are only here to protect our freedom.
Anger and frustration as two sides face off outside Glendale Unified Board of Education meeting. The board is set to adopt a resolution designating June as LGBTQ plus Pride Month, something they've done for the last 4 years.
Homecoming is the Bruin Bear. Your 2021 homecoming queen, Zachary Wilman.
And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Or do parents decide what should be placed at the fingertips and allowed to be taught to their children in the school system?
And they do it in other ways too. They're making us smaller by dividing us into smaller and smaller groups. And they sell to you that we should get into these smaller groups because we'll be more comfortable.
Why? Well, first of all, that's something that I'm supposed to be bringing up. I'm surprised you're bringing that up.
I feel that is something that I should tell my kids, not the school, not the teachers. I watch the words that I tell my kids. I don't know how they're going to tell my kids.
They're experimenting on children. Young children are very vulnerable. First of all, at that age they're targeting them. Children don't have any idea about sex and sexuality.
This book here, my name is John Amachukwu, as we stated earlier. It's called It's Perfectly Normal for Students 10 and Up. This book details all kinds of sexual images.
The superintendent says the district is simply following the state's curriculum and says a lot of erroneous misinformation is being spread on social media.
Yeah, how old were the kids with the classroom? 14 to 18.
See, we have perverts that are perverting our kids.
Parents might be stunned to learn that Bruno's version of love and acceptance means handing out sex toys to underage students.
So I've been the dean for 4 years. During Pride, we do a Pride Week every year, and I had like our LGBTQ plus health center come in. They were passing around butt plugs and dildos to my students, talking about queer sex, using lube versus using spit.
Who is this?
This is an LGBTQ plus health center came in to talk to my high school students. They're just like passing around dildos, butt plugs. The kids are just playing with them. They're looking at them.
In the school?
In a classroom.
Wow.
Yeah. While I'm sitting there. Then we had a drag queen come in, pass out cookies, and brownies and do photos.
And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you?
In this video, you can see just how violent and chaotic that crowd got. At around 6 p.m. last night, at the height of those clashes, the Glendale police in riot gear threatening to use chemical agents to disperse the crowd, declaring it an unlawful assembly and arresting at least 3 people. At one point, this crowd swelled to reports of about 500 people here in the parking lot of the Glendale Unified School District headquarters. Glendale's police chief confirming to KTLA there was Antifa and Revolutionary Communist members in the crowd yesterday.
Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got it.
Not militia. That's what his FBI.
See, this is not just a right problem. This is a right and a left problem. We just go about it from different ways.
Well, wait a minute.
This is the drag queen that came in.
What's her name?
Alexis Bevels.
Alexis Bevels.
I just hung out in my classroom.
And was there?
Or hung out in my office.
Because this is immoral and asinine to allow children to be able to see this.
It's the erasure of LGBTQ voices. Erasure of voices of LGBTQ people leads to the misconception that all of our lived experiences are homogenous and the same, and it does not allow any space for folks to embrace who they are.
And to kind of find space for people who exist in a number of different ways.
We have to continue to make the case that we are all better off when we're all better off.
It's a battle Governor Newsom has been waging in other GOP-controlled states.
The Republican leaders, they're banning books.
That was Newsom last summer in a commercial that aired in Florida. Now he's taking that message directly to educators here in California, sending out this letter to superintendents and school administrators across the state, warning them not to remove instructional materials. The letter that he sent out reads in part, access to books, including books that reflect the diverse experiences and perspectives of Californians, and especially those that may challenge us to grapple with uncomfortable truths, is a profound freedom we all must protect and cultivate.
Also, this book even shows images of 2 women having sex, a man and a woman having sex, and 2 men having sex. That's not perfectly normal. Who decides what's normal?
It's amazing. And everybody's cool with that, like the butt plugs and the dildos. Nobody complains.
No.
I mean, if the parents found out, would they?
No. It's queer sex.
We do follow in a public system state laws.
I'm at Long Beach Pride today. This is Tip with Mayor Gavin Newsom.
It's very quiet here.
How does it feel to be the political grand marshal of Long Beach Pride?
I'm very honored. I'm very honored. So now, you know, the key for me as a political grand marshal is not to say anything that I regret.
Happy Pride!
Our primary focus in our school district is to be inclusive. Every student matters, every family member matters.
All right, inside last night's board meeting, the public comment portion regarding Pride Month was cut short because of the fighting happening outside.
Trustees are okay with that too? Oh, yeah. They don't know.
They would. It's like I wouldn't even like run it by them. Like, why would I run it by them? They would be like, oh my God, that's wonderful.
Was it something I said? If you don't want to hear it in a school board meeting, why should children be able to check it out of the school system?
You have so much freedom, so much wiggle room.
So much freedom, so much money.
I mean,
to do stuff.
Talking about families is not a sexual conversation.
We have absolutely no agenda.
Speaking to our undercover journalist, that's the man that was meeting with you, and you're on tape. You work for Trinity School, right? You're the director of student activities, and you're on tape and you're saying, I don't hide how I feel, but I can't pretend I'm not promoting an agenda. You're recorded making all these statements.
And so it's not only a noble and purposeful thing to contribute your time and volunteer, it's also a very selfish thing, because you really do, it gives you a sense of purpose and self-esteem. No matter how badly you think your life is going, you meet someone who's suffering even more acutely. And if you can help that person, you in turn are helping yourself.
I don't hide how I feel, but
but I can't pretend I'm a Gen You guys clearly am. I can't believe all the stuff about it.
My advice to parents is, first of all, get your kids off of social media. Parents have to be extra vigilant in their children's education. Show up to school board meetings.
I'll read some of this for you. It says, after a bit, a person's vagina becomes moist and slippery, and the clitoris becomes hard. After a bit, a person's penis becomes erect, stiff, and larger. Sometimes a bit of clear fluid that may contain a few sperms comes out of the tip of the penis and makes it wet.
Sir, I'm sorry.
Was it something I said?
And that each and every one of us as human beings all share one fundamental thing in common. All of us want to be loved.
301 Christopher Drive. I just remembered the number.
I'm not going there. What I can say to you is that I think there's an abundance of people who could do better.
When I started there, I hid my whole life. I felt like a double agent or something.
You came on the stage dressed as an emperor.
But there are too many in the political sphere, on the minority fringe, who say they're one thing, but they show another every time they open their mouth or live their life.
You probably are a Christian man, but many Christians today have become more Democrat than Christian.
Chris, I want to tell you, first of all, that I really am pleased with what you are doing at News Nation and providing a forum for people from all sides of the issues to speak. But what I want to say is I'm a traditional Methodist pastor serving in rural western Pennsylvania. But that being said, I agree with you, Chris, in your back and forth with Bill O'Reilly, that too many times people who profess to be Christians are actually becoming a huge part of the division in this country, where people are acting like this big threat is this alleged wokeism when they don't understand what the word woke means. And to me, I think a bigger problem than Drag Queen Story Hour is the problem of people who call themselves Christians screaming and yelling that they're going to stamp out wokeism, and it's hard for me to watch.
I mean, come on, think about it. We still celebrate Christopher Columbus Day, right? We still have that day off and all that crap, and it's like, really? We're having this day off? Today is not, now it's National Indigenous Day, or it should be.
Our presidents were slave owners.
But I mean, you know, like,
That is woke queer theory.
and you know what? I am woke queer theory.
The more divided we are, the more likely we are to be dominated.
And all of us want to love. And that's what Pride is all about.
Way to go for you, Sean. But at the end of the day, I'm not sitting up here trying to campaign for Chris Christie.
We could campaign against or for something.